The movie begins in Persia, in the year 1127. In a large hall of a richly decorated palace is the emperor, surrounded by his subjects, servants, and guards. In front of him stands a creature dressed in ornate clothes, with a disfigured face and eyes full of darkness. It is a genie. He demands that the emperor make a second wish. The emperor, unaware of the consequences, wishes to see miracles. Immediately, terrible transformations begin to take place in the hall. One of the guards merges with his own armor and becomes like a deformed iron beast. Another man turns into a living statue that crumbles into dust. A woman is devoured by snakes that have grown right out of the floor. People scream and try to escape, but cannot. One of the courtiers erupts, engulfed in flames. All of this unfolds over the course of a few minutes while the sounds of bones breaking and the snarling of monsters caused by magic are all around. The emperor is shocked. The genie reminds him of his third wish, claiming that everything can be fixed if he voices it. But a magician dressed in the robes of a Zoroastrian priest enters the hall. He raises his hands and with a magical ritual extracts a fire opal from a bag. The genie senses danger and turns around, but the mage has already activated the power of the stone. A red light emerges from the opal and draws the genie inside. The creatures summoned by the genie disappear. Everything comes to a standstill. The stone begins to dim. The genie is imprisoned. Centuries later, a port in the United States, modern times. Loaders working for private transportation move a heavy crate with an antique inscription on the side. Raymond Beaumont, a wealthy collector, watches the work. His assistant, Ed Finley, handles the paperwork. One of the workers, a crane operator named Mickey Torelli, is drunk. His movements are tentative. While moving a container containing a large antique statue, he loses control. The crate falls. Finley ends up right under it and dies on the spot, crushed by the structure. The statue inside shatters. A scarlet stone falls out of the cracks, glittering even through the dust. One of the workers notices it and stashes it in his pocket. Sometime later, this worker brings the jewel to a pawn shop, where the stone later ends up in the company's possession. Nick Merritt, an employee of the company, hands the artifact to the appraiser Alexandra Amberson. She examines the diamond and notices something inside the structure that resembles a living thing. The stone cannot be accurately categorized. Alex hands it over to her colleague and friend Josh Aikman for scientific analysis. He performs spectroscopy and other tests, but during one of the analyses, the stone explodes. Josh suffers burns and injuries. From within appears a figure. It is the Jinn, freed after centuries. Josh, lying in the lab and in pain, says aloud that he wishes to be put out of his misery. The Jinn satisfies this wish by ending his agony by killing him. Josh's body remains lifeless. Alex learns of the explosion and Josh's death from Police Lieutenant Nathanson. She tries to find out what happened to the rock. As she investigates, she discovers that the stone was inside the statue and reaches out to Beaumont. He points her to an expert on ancient folklore, Professor Wendy Derleth. Alex visits Derleth and the latter tells the story of the Jinn. Their connections to artifacts and the mechanism of wish fulfillment. Wishes are distorted, souls are killed. The Jinn feed on this. To open the gates to other genies, he must receive 3 wishes from the man who freed him. The genie meanwhile takes the form of a recently deceased man, calls himself Nathaniel Demarest, and begins his search for Alex. Along the way, he encounters a pharmacist and a homeless man. The genie offers to help the vagrant, inciting him to aggression against the pharmacist. The homeless man pronounces that he wants the pharmacist to suffer. The genie forces the pharmacist to suffer a painful end. Later, he meets a young woman, Ariella, who dreams of eternal beauty. Jinn turns her into a plastic mannequin, leaving her motionless in a store window. In an attempt to find Alex, he visits Nathanson at the police station. The officer does not agree to divulge information. Then Jinn overhears that Nathanson dreams of criminals confessing their own guilt. One of the detainees suddenly pulls out a gun and starts shooting. In the turmoil, Jinn finds Alex's personnel file and learns her address. Later, Jinn visits Nick, the very same employee of the auction house. Nick agrees to help Jin if he gets $1 million. Soon Nick's mother is killed in a private plane crash, after which he receives the insurance money. A wish is granted, but at the cost of a human life. Alex begins to have disturbing dreams and visions every time the genie grants wishes. One day she visits Professor Derleth again to clarify the details, but finds they're not the real professor, but the genie who has already killed her and taken her form. He offers Alex to fulfill 3 wishes. First, he offers a demo, an unofficial wish. Alex asks that he shoot himself in the head. The genie complies, but the gun doesn't hurt him. This does not count as an official wish. Alex then formulates his first official find out who he is. The djinn sends her inside his dimensional world in disgrace. There is darkness, stone columns, burning rivers, and creatures agonizing in silent agony. The genie reveals to her that he is a creature that feeds on souls. Alex wishes to return home. Jin fulfills her second wish, teleporting her back to her apartment. Realizing she can't get rid of him, Alex rushes to a party Beaumont is throwing. Her sister, Shannon, is also invited to the event. The genie is already there, disguised as Demarest. Alex warns doorman Johnny Valentine that Demarest is dangerous. Johnny asks Jin to end the routine. Jin turns him into part of a wall, killing him instantly. He then enters the hall. Beaumont utters that he wants his party to be memorable. The genie embodies this literally. Sculptures come to life, paintings move, one of them pulls a man inside. Musical instruments explode. The walls and floor are flooded with blood. Guests try to escape, but many of them are killed. Guards are pierced by metal spikes. One of them falls into a glass composition. Another collides with a reanimated monster from an art installation. Alex finds Shannon, tries to get her out of the building, but Jin intercepts them. He pulls Shannon inside a huge moving painting. Alex realizes she has one opportunity left. She remembers crane operator Mickey Torelli and wishes that he hadn't been drinking 2 days before the incident. This becomes her third wish. Reality is being rewritten. In the past, Torelli is sober. A crate containing an antique statue is successfully placed on the deck. The statue doesn't break. No one dies. The opal remains sealed. The genie is pulled inside again before he can realize his plans. Everything goes back to square one. Alex wakes up. Josh is alive. He's working in the lab. She visits him. He's surprised by her condition. Alex explains nothing. In Beaumont's private collection, now secure, stands a statue of Ahura Mazda. Inside it is once again a fire opal. Inside the stone, on a throne of bones and ashes, a genie sits in complete silence. He is waiting for the next liberation.